Chapter 2, The Unsettling Routine. The sun was setting over Verosphere Plaza, or at least it should have been. Gideon leaned back in his chair at an open-air cafe, staring up at the sky. The same pale blue it had been this morning, the same wisps of white clouds unmoved. The plaza was alive around him, the hum of conversation, the clinking of glasses, the smooth waves of background music. Restaurants filled with free men and free women laughing over perfectly plated meals. Lounge chairs by the rooftop pools, occupied by those who had finished their tasks early. Everything looked perfect. Everything felt wrong. Gideon had been here since morning. He had chosen to come here. He remembered it clearly. The decision, the journey, the arrival. He remembered standing in line at the entry terminal, watching as others ahead of him were welcomed into Verosphere with open arms. "Congratulations, free man," they had told him. Verosphere had promised freedom, a place where he didn't have to work to survive, where his choices were his own, where life wasn't controlled by politics, corporations, or debts. He had believed them. So why did it feel like he was still following orders? The first day, the day had been too easy. No stress, no pressure, no obligations beyond his daily tasks. Buy an item, watch a video, write a review. The market rewarded him instantly. Free drinks, free meals, access to things he didn't even realize he wanted. He didn't feel trapped, but he didn't feel free either. He drummed his fingers on the table, watching the way people moved through the plaza. No rush, no distractions. Their faces were calm, unbothered, eyes flicking to their MarketLink apps every so often. This was life. But what had life been before this? That was the part that unsettled him the most. He had chosen to leave something behind. But now, when he tried to think of the details, they blurred. Why had he left? What had been so bad about before? A soft ping interrupted his thoughts. Final task for today. Post a comment on Shelf Talk. Gideon exhaled sharply, shaking his head. It was always something. He tapped open the app. A post was already suggested, waiting for his approval. A generic comment under a restaurant review. Great service, we'll be back soon. That was it. That was all he had to do. One tap and his daily tasks would be complete. His fingers hovered over the button. He wasn't sure why, but suddenly he didn't want to press it. He had been playing along all day, following the rhythm of Verosphere, doing what was expected. But now, what happens if I don't? A simple test. He put the phone down, staring at the notification. It would sit there until he completed it. Wouldn't it? He glanced around, suddenly aware of the weight of the moment. No one was watching him. No one seemed to care. But there was a pressure now, subtle but present. A quiet expectation, like the plaza itself was waiting. Gideon tapped his fingers against the table again, heart beating slightly faster than before. This place was supposed to be free. So why did it feel like he was being given choice that wasn't really a choice at all? Gideon stared at his MarketLink notification for what felt like half an hour. Final task for today. Post a comment on Shelf Talk. One tap. That was all it took. One tap, and the day would be over. He hesitated. The plaza was still alive around him, restaurants filled with free men and free women finishing their last meals, neon signs flickering, music drifting through the air. Everything about Verosphere promised freedom. So why did it feel like he was following orders? His thumb hovered over the screen, then he tapped. The screen went black. A moment later, white text appeared. Task completed. Welcome back, Gideon. He blinked. His stomach twisted. That wasn't right. That wasn't what the message was supposed to say. The screen flickered. A new notification popped up, one that shouldn't exist. Do you remember? A chill crawled up Gideon's spine. His breath slowed. He hadn't pressed anything. His finger twitched over the screen. The message stared back at him. Then, it was gone. The MarketLink app refreshed itself. The notification was wiped, as if it had never been there. Daily tasks complete. Enjoy your evening, free man. He sat frozen in his chair. Do you remember? Remember what? His hands curled into fists, his pulse thumped in his ears. He should have felt relieved. Another day, another set of tasks done. That was how it worked. So why did it feel like something had just spoken to him? This, something that wasn't supposed to. Gideon scanned the plaza, searching for, what? A clue? A reaction? But the world around him kept moving. Nothing stopped. Nothing changed. No one else had seen it. Only him. He exhaled sharply and placed his phone on the table. It was just a glitch. A notification popped up, one that shouldn't exist. Gideon's fingers curled against the table. His breath steadied, but the unease sat heavy in his chest. His market link was silent now, as if nothing had ever happened. Just a glitch. He exhaled, rubbing his temples. That's when he saw the shop. He blinked. It hadn't been there before. A narrow storefront tucked between two glowing pillars, its entrance marked by a neon sign that pulsed a deep red. The letters shifted slightly, flickering in and out of focus. Everything you forgot. Gideon's stomach twisted. The vendor behind the counter was watching him, smiling, too friendly, too eager. Gideon glanced around. No one else seemed to notice the shop. People strolled past without a second glance, their conversations uninterrupted, their movements smooth, practiced, but the vendor only watched him. And then, as if reading Gideon's thoughts, he beckoned. "We have what you're looking for." Gideon's pulse skipped. His mouth felt dry. He hadn't been looking for anything. Had he? A slow, sinking feeling crept into his mind. What had he forgotten? Gideon took a slow step forward. The vendor's smile didn't break, wide, welcoming, unnervingly still. His clothes were clean, pressed, a little too crisp, like they'd never been worn before. Gideon glanced around. None of the other shops had vendors. The realization hit like ice in his veins. No one ran the restaurants. Orders were placed through screens. The food came out hot, delivered by mechanical arms or unseen hands. The clothing stores had no clerks. You walked in, scanned an item, and the system handled the rest. Even the souvenir stalls were self-service. The market didn't need workers. It never had. So why was this man standing here? Gideon's breath slowed. His skin prickled. The vendor was still watching him. Gideon took another step closer. The vendor's face looked wrong. Not at first. At first, he seemed normal. A man in his late 40s, well-groomed with neatly combed hair and a sharp suit. But the longer Gideon looked, his eyes were too wide. The whites shone unnaturally bright. His fingers didn't move. He gestured with his whole arm, stiff, like a mannequin being repositioned. His lips moved, but he wasn't speaking. Gideon stopped breathing. The vendor tilted his head, just slightly, just enough. And that was it. That was enough. Gideon turned and walked away. Not fast, not panicked, just away. He passed other storefronts, looking inside, confirming what he already knew. No vendors, no workers, just the hum of neon, the glow of the market, the quiet shuffle of free men and free women lost in their own worlds. And as he rounded the corner, his pulse still racing, he glanced back one last time. The vendor was still watching him, still smiling. The neon sign above the shop flickered. The words shifted. Everything you forgot became you almost remembered. Gideon's stomach dropped. He turned sharply, breaking into a jog, then a run. His apartment wasn't far. He just needed to get inside, shut the door, sleep this off. Just a glitch. Just a glitch. He repeated it under his breath, but the words didn't feel right anymore.